Tell me about the first piece of art you ever sold.
And she commissioned me to do an oil painting of an owl, and she paid me $100.
What is the most recent piece of art that you've sold?
Actually, I had a piece sell in a gallery while I was down here this week, and I think it was like a $5,000 painting, like a 30 by 40, so that was nice.
Yeah, that's nice. What separates the one who makes over six figures from their art to the one who struggles?
Well, if you have skills, really important, and it's really important that artists develop the skill and the conceptual knowledge, but that will only get you so far because there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of artists out there with great skill set. What really separates one artist from the rest is I just got back from a conference for online course creators where I was interviewed by Anthony Gallo. He's one of the founders of ContentCreator.com, which is a multi-million-dollar online course creation business. We talked about how I achieved my success and also some of the best advice that I have for aspiring artists who are struggling to make a living from their art. So if you dream of a life as a successful artist, you don't want to miss any of this. And if you don't know me, I'm Tim Packer. 25 years ago, I walked away from my job as a police officer and cashed in my pension to try and make my living as a full-time artist. Since then, I've made several $1 million from the sale of my art, and I've helped thousands of artists with my online art account. So if you dream of a life as a successful artist, I really encourage you to watch this entire video.
Two equally skilled artists. They're both very good. What separates the one who makes over six figures from their art to the one who struggles?
Well, if you have skills, really important, and it's really important that artists develop the skill and the conceptual knowledge, but that will only get you so far because there are thousands, if not tens of thousands of artists out there with great skill set. What really separates one artist from the rest is having a unique voice. Because if you just have the skills, there's a lot of people out there creating work like you. And what the public will do, if they like your work and there's other people doing similar work, they'll go to the one that's the best value, which is the cheapest, which means the only way to compete is by lowering your prices. And then you end up in a race to the bottom. That's not a race you want to be in, never mind win. Whereas if you have a unique voice and they go, well, I love your work, is there a cheaper option? No, there isn't. So the only question then becomes, can they afford you? But not only that, because you've got such scarcity in terms of you're the only one doing it, there's a lot of demand that drives the prices up. And then the more the prices go up, the more the prices go up. So again, having that their own unique voice where there's something about your work where someone looks across the room. I've had people say I was down in Australia and I went into someone's home and I said, that's a Tim Packer. Right. So in a place where they're not even expecting it, if they can just recognize your work, and it's the same in music, right? There's a lot of people on American Idol with incredible technical skills, but they're just going to be a corporate singer. But give someone who's got a unique voice plus all the skills, then that's what really kills.
When thinking about an artist who is, trying to get their first bit of validation, the first bit of money coming in, what are some of the avenues that you recommend they follow? Is it, try to get a family friend to buy their art, or is it like local venues? What does that look like for selling the first piece?
For someone that's looking to sell the first piece of art, it's more than likely going to be a family or friend. Because they love you and support you and want to support your dreams. For me, actually, once I got serious about my art again, I just hosted a studio open house. I invited all of my family and friends and coworkers to come to my house. I had a show put on there, basically turned my house into a gallery. And when we saw, I think I sold about 30 paintings. Now, it was only about $2,000 total because I was selling them for next to nothing. But one thing I could say for artists, like the hardest thing is to get started. And I'm a big believer in urgency and putting yourself on the hook. So once I decided I was going to do this, I told everybody I'm having a show next year. And here's the date. And I didn't have any paintings done. Because I knew, okay, now I'm on the hook. I've got to create all these paintings. And I'm either I will do it and have that first step in my career, or it'll be pretty clear that I'm talking the talk, but not walking the walk. Mm-hmm. So that's a really good way. But in terms of the best place for artists to sell once they've gone beyond that kind of first thing, it's art festivals. Art festivals are amazing because you get eyes on your work. you get maybe 10, 15, 20,000 people walking past your booth, you'll very quickly come to understand how the public responds to your work. If they're just walking past your booth and you're not even getting noticed, which is the fate of most artists, then you know, okay, I'm not there yet. I need to get back in the studio and either master more skills, master more concepts, spend time in process mode and push the creativity. So, but if you could be painting away in your studio and posting stuff on Facebook, but nobody's seeing your work, so you're not able to gauge how much impact it's having. So,
For somebody who maybe went to their first festival, people walked by their show, what was this the reason you made your online course?
yeah, I mean, I've been incredibly fortunate to have the career that I've had. And I still remember the moment that I realized I want to start teaching this. I was at an opening, it was opening of my show, and it was like the movie version of an art opening. You know, the people were lined up waiting for the door to open. There was servers with wine, there was music playing, the door opened, and all these people came in, and it's like I was like a rock star, and red dots started going up as paintings were being sold. And it was towards the end of the year, and I was having a really good year. And I realized I'm going to make over $250,000 this year from my art. And it was like for about half a minute, I basked in the glow. And then I had this weird feeling come over me. And at first I thought it was guilt because it wasn't just happy. But I thought I don't have anything to be guilty about. And then I realized it was responsibility. I realized I know how I got here. I wasn't special. No one said I was special when I was 17, 19, when I couldn't get a job as an artist. And I realized there's so many people out there that share that same dream, but they just don't know what to do. And the universities aren't preparing them. So I decided, I guess I'm going to take that on and try and share. So I went out the next day and dropped $25,000 in gear at Vistech and started my YouTube channel.
And then that went on to create your course, which, right?
It actually, it took a few years until I got to creating my course because I was still focused on painting. And the whole teaching other artists, it was just a passion project on the side. It was my investment in karma, and giving back to art, which had done so much for me. And I actually had impact on a number of artists, but not really to the scale that I wanted. And when I had some really serious health issues a couple of years ago, that led me to an epiphany, which is that what I really, really want to focus on is helping other artists. Not just cranking out more paintings and making more money wasn't going to be enough. And then I realized, well, the only way I can make this a full-time gig and the only way I can get buy-in from students is if they pay for it. And that's exactly the reason why I founded the Tim Packer Art Academy, so that I can give people the tools to develop these skills, develop these concepts, so that they can create their own unique voice and actually make a living from their art, pursuing their dream, and not cost them tens of thousands of dollars for a university education that is, quite frankly, not going to prepare them for actually making a living from their art. So one of my students, Emma Hainstock, she'd never sold a painting before in her life. She actually has a PhD in biology and she works in biotech because she didn't believe she was talented enough to become an artist. So she joined my academy about a year ago, and last year she went from 0 to 24,000 in sales in just 1 year.
So what are some of the things she did?
I went into the summer of 2023 never having sold a painting in my life, not even to a family member. And I did 2 more festivals that first summer, and I ended up at about $24,000 in sales in my first year of pursuing art. I can't believe that I'm saying that.
That's Emma Hainstock, one of the students in my online art academy. Keep watching to learn more about Emma's absolutely amazing first year of selling her art, and to learn how you can access the exact same training that led to Emma's success.
At my first festival, within an hour of it starting, sold a painting for $1,200. I never in a million years thought it would be possible to make a living from being an artist. And it was awesome because my parents, they kind of encouraged me down the more practical path. And then when they were with me at that first art festival, they were stunned. Now they believe in me oftentimes more than I believe in me. Has been really awesome.
If Emma's story resonates with you and you dream of a life of making a living from your art, then don't let this opportunity pass you by. I'm Tim Packer. I've made several $1 million from the sale of my art, and I've helped thousands of aspiring artists with my online art academy. Right now, you can access the entire suite of courses that Emma credits for her success, valued at over $1,000 for just $199. And if you act now, as a special bonus, you'll get one free live group Zoom call with me. And it comes with a 30-day, no questions asked, money-back guarantee. Don't let another year go by sitting on the sidelines, watching other people live the life that you know you were meant to lead. I just love hearing success stories like this. And the best part of it is that Emma's is only one of many stories of success like that with my students. So if you're interested in learning if my courses would be a good fit for you, I've put links down in the description below the video. Okay, let's get back to the video and see how Emma was able to achieve such amazing success. And what makes this story even more remarkable is that she did all this while working a very demanding full-time job in biotech, and she was just painting part-time.
The most important thing she did, the first thing, and I think it's the first thing that most artists should do, is master composition. It's the most important element in any painting, and it's the thing that most artists know least about. And it's actually, I mean, I encourage everyone to master everything about it, but I see a lot of artists making really bad decisions in the first couple minutes of a painting that just dooms it to failure. And there's these common mistakes they make over and over and over. And so that's why I created a list of the 10 most common compositional weaknesses. Like if all they do is avoid these 10 most common compositional weaknesses, they're going to be creating better paintings with more impact, and that means more sales.
How does an artist who is technically skilled develop the confidence to branch off on their own and create that unique voice? Is it just something for, is it a 10,000 hour thing?
So for an artist to create their own unique voice, it's not just kind of going in and pushing paint around and hoping that genius happens. There are some things that you can actually do. So we need to understand a few things to be able to do that. And the first thing that they need to understand is that there's 3 different modes of creating. That's process, product, and practice. And they're very different in terms of your mindset, and they're very different in terms of what the hopeful outcome is. So practice, we all know, right? Practice is time spent on the driving range. It's just doing the thing to develop the skills. And product is where most people spend all of their time, and it's trying to do the best final product that you can do. But the problem in product mode is you're only using those skills, concepts, subject matter, media, and techniques that you're competent and confident in. And if you do that for 20 years, you haven't moved the needle at all. You're still just competent and confident in those same things. So you need to step outside of your comfort zone. But here's where most artists fall down. They'll try something new and it won't work out. And they'll be incredibly frustrated and they'll scurry back to their comfort zone for a while. Then they'll try something new again and it doesn't work out. They'll scurry back to their comfort zone. And when they think about stepping outside of their comfort zone again, now they're experiencing fear of failure, which can be devastating. But the whole thing you need to understand is that in process mode, paintings are supposed to fail. And the very first thing you need to do is give permission for the painting to fail. And so if you spend time and you create a painting and say, I'm going to try XYZ, and that painting goes in the ditch, you were successful. You tried the thing. But guess what? You just learned on the very worst painting you ever create, you learned a lot about what not to do next time. But then sometimes in process mode, that's where the magic happens, right? That's when you get a painting that's better than anything you've ever done before. Or maybe the painting fails, but there's just one little area that really works out. You go, oh, now you've got more tools. Now when you move back to product mode, the work goes up and up and up. So you first of all have to understand that. Otherwise, they'll just experience frustration and fear and won't leave. Once you understand that, one of the best ways to create your own unique voice is to seek out influences. So seek out artists whose work you love, of many different stylistic approaches, many different subject matter, and copy their style. There's this whole thing people are afraid of, like, oh, I can't copy. And it's like, yeah, you can't copy if you're trying to sell it. And you don't want to copy someone and be a clone, but copying artists' work, the old masters, that's a historic tradition. Because when you master their skills and processes, now you've added more stuff in the tool belt. So find an artist, use them as an influence, copy their style till you get pretty good with it, then seek out another one that's very different and do that for a number of artists, and then go into the studio and say, okay, here's something I want to paint, but now I'm going to totally spitball. I'm going to take this from this artist, this from that artist, this from that artist. And you might even do that many, many times from those artists. And then what you need to always be attuned to is three things. How much do you love the process? How much do you love the finished work? And how much does the public love the finished work? And ideally, you want to get to the point where you love the process, you love the finished work, and enough of the public loves the finished work to give you a good living. Once you get there, making a living as an artist is easy. Until you get there, it's virtually impossible.
Love that. Love that. That's like the book, Steal Like an Artist, right? It's
Same.
the concept that
Yeah.
like all great artists have essentially stolen from other great artists, but it's not copying because they're not picking their entire style. They just pick a little pocket of
And
it.
they're
Yeah.
putting it together in
They're making
a
their own
unique way.
pizza from all these different ingredients.
Exactly, because it's pretty tough. You know, if an artist was to go into their studio just in a vacuum and go, wow, I'm just going to try to come up with something, it's like there's all kinds of stuff out there that people have spent their lifetime developing these techniques or processes. It's like it's much easier to learn from someone else than it is to just go in and push paint around.
Yeah.
And there is a real thing in the universities now too, where it's like, oh, we don't want to influence an artist. And it'd be like, you know, if you just handed me a guitar and said, create, I could make noise, but I wouldn't be able to make music. I have to learn the skills first, and I have to learn how to play other people's music first before I can go in and create my own music. And I believe very strongly it's the same with painting.
What do you wish you did differently with your own art career?
I wish I knew that talent wasn't a gift that you either have or didn't have, because I was very sure I didn't have it. And I gave up 18 years of my life doing a job that I liked because I didn't think I could ever make a living doing what I loved. And if I had known from the beginning that talent was something that I could acquire, I would have stuck with it and I would have achieved success much, much earlier.
When was the moment where you were like, this is real? Like, oh crap, I made it.
I did the Toronto Art Festival back in 2005. And up until that time, I'd never made more than $18,000, $20,000 in a year. But I had developed this unique voice, which is very recognizable as what I do now. And this was the very first show that I was doing where it was going to be out in front of a large audience. And so I went for 6 years making less than $30,000 every year to doing $28,000 in sales in a weekend. And I just knew my life was never going to be the same, and it hasn't been. But it wasn't easy. And it didn't happen right away, but I believe 100% that if someone has the passion and they have the willingness to work and they have a solid work ethic and a willingness to learn, that it's not a matter of if they'll be successful, but when. But you need to be doing the right things at the right time. And that's why I created my art academy, so that I can actually help and guide them to be doing what's the one most important thing you should be focusing on right now. And then once they've mastered it, what's next? What's next? What's next?
Love that. Tell me about the first piece of art you ever sold.
I still vividly remember the first piece of art I ever sold. And I'm sure for every artist that's true as well. I was actually in college, and it was a friend of mine's mom, and she commissioned me to do an oil painting of an owl. And she paid me $100 for that oil painting.
Now, fast forward, what is the most recent piece of art that you've sold?
Actually, I had a piece sell in a gallery while I was down here this week, and I think it was like a $5,000 painting, like a 30 by 40. So that was nice.
Yeah, that's nice.
Okay, this part of the interview, we had a bit of a camera glitch, so we're just going to have the one camera angle for the rest of the video. But before we get to that, let me just say, if you're still watching at this point, obviously what I'm saying is resonating with you. I really, really encourage you to click on the links in the description and check out the courses that I have to offer. I've had thousands of satisfied students. I've actually changed some of their lives, and all of my courses come with a 30-day, no questions asked, full money back guarantee. So you've got nothing to lose. Okay, back to the interview.
What do you think is the biggest mistake that beginner artists trying to sell their work make?
Well, I think the biggest mistake that most artists make is they think that talent is some sort of gift, that they either have or don't have, when in fact talent is just the sum total of your skills, knowledge, creativity, and experience, and it can all be improved, and it can all be learned, and it can all be taught, and so that they can continue to grow throughout their career, and the potential is virtually limitless. But they're all waiting. They think if they just go in their studio and push paint around, that genius is going to magically appear one day or not, where in fact, it's just like everything else. Master the skills, master the concepts, spend time pushing your creativity, and you just continually improve. When I decided to join the Toronto Police Force back in 1982, it's because I believed I didn't have enough talent. And I was absolutely right if I just added the word yet. I wasn't talented enough yet. And that's the biggest thing I try to get across to my artists is talent isn't something you have or don't have. Talent is something you acquire through hours and hours and hours of work.
Oh, that was so good. So you mentioned the skills there. What would you say are like some everyday tactical exercises you recommend to beginners to build those skills up?
One of the most important skills for any artist is the ability to draw. And that's just like doing push-ups. You only get better at push-ups by doing push-ups. You can't read about push-ups or watch videos about push-ups or watch movies. You have to do the push-ups. And for drawing, it's the same thing. So the best thing any artist can do is start a daily sketchbook and draw for 15 minutes a day. If you do that, a year from now, you will be much better at drawing than you are now. And so I try to get all my students to do that, to draw for 15 minutes a day. And then there's other things like life drawing classes or things like that, but it's really just putting the reps in. You can't get good at it without putting in hours and hours and hours of work.
Are there any like particular subjects you recommend people focus on, or is it just anything you're interested about?
Actually, well, when someone's starting out, if they don't know what they want to do, the best advice is paint what you love. And for me, when I started out, I had 2 young boys at home. And so I started doing portraits. I started doing pictures of my boys. And I was eventually elected as a senior signature member of the Canadian Institute of Portrait Artists and got very, very good at doing portraits. But what I realized once I started doing commissions is I loved doing paintings of my kids. I didn't really enjoy painting other people's people, and especially in the way that they wanted me to do it. So, but drawing the human figure or drawing the face, those are 2 of the most technical challenges that are out there. And so that's a good way to measure your skill, because even someone who knows nothing about art, they can just look and go, that hand's a little wonky, or the eyes are a little off. So if you can draw the human figure, or especially if you can capture a likeness from someone, then you've got skills at a very high level. And now the question becomes, what are you going to do with those skills that's uniquely yours?
Oof, crushing this. My God, that is so good.